The deeper we go into this ruin, the more I am convinced it is a vault of sorts. Why else would murals depicting the defeat of Vargosh's spawn mark these walls? This is no mausoleum, no monument to the decay and destruction wrought by those creatures. Otherwise, this whole region would have long since been corrupted. No, this was a holding place, most likely for another artifact. The fact that there was corruption on the upper level and just outside this cave tells me that the seal has already been broken. I know the others are afraid of what we will discover in the bowels of this place. I fear it too, but even more I fear what may come from inaction. Evil has a tendency to draw more evil to itself. If there is an artifact at the heart of this ruin, then it is already calling to others to join it. It may only be a matter of time before someone with less altruistic motives comes seeking it. Better for us to remove it and dispose of it, if such a thing is possible, than leave it for another to find. I wonder what became of the eyes that we stole from the Defara estate. The lieutenant studied it, and I assumed it had been turned over to the Shade, as was intended, but perhaps when I return to Veilwater, I will ask her directly. In the meantime, though we are injured and exhausted, we must press onward. I sense that we are drawing close to the heart of this ruin. I pray to the gods that we will all survive what is to come. Welcome back for another episode of Errant Adventures. As always, I'm your game master and solo player, Steve Morrison. On this week's episode, it's a showdown in the Elfheim Vault as Arid, Ben, and Orchid face off against the corrupted cave spiders. Find out what happens on episode 31, Corruption and Decay. Last time, the soldiers of the Crest continued their battle with the cave spiders in the small cell in the bowels of this Elfheim ruin. They were able to finally overcome the cave spiders and defeat them. And during that process, Arid was able to raise a magical barrier that kept the Necdesolith, the incorporeal exoskeleton-bearing worm creature that was hunting them as well. This barrier kept the Necdesolith at bay for enough time for the members of the Crest and Silas Wilberforce, the scholar, to escape and flee from the room. They were able to get far enough away that they felt confident that the Necdesolith was not continuing to pursue them, so they took a rest and bound Arid's wounds, those burn wounds that he had received from his failed attempt to draw on the fire. They continued exploring the rest of the ruin and discovered a room of artistry with statues and more murals, which seemed to confirm that this was some sort of vault. They came to a doorway, and Arid bypassed it with his magical talent. And inside this room was a pedestal upon which rested a claw belonging to the beetle god Vargosh, the god of decay and corruption. They discovered there was a crack in the ceiling that explained how the area above had become corrupted, and more cave spiders scuttled through that opening and had been caught by and corrupted by the claw of Vargosh, and they are now decay spiders. This is where we left our heroes and the scholar as they begin to draw their weapons and face off against the Decay spiders of Vargosh. So as we jump into this fight, let's go ahead and enter the fray. So we have set the combat progress as extreme, as these Decay spiders are somewhat more formidable than the regular cave spiders that the soldiers of the crest fought previously. Their carapaces are decaying and corrupted. Their fangs drip this like sickly green ooze, which matches the radiating sort of corruptive aura of the claw on the pedestal. All of them are kind of feeling a little sickly and thrown off by this aura, but whereas Silas Wilberforce has never encountered anything like this, the others have at the Defara estate when Ben and Arid managed to steal the Eye of Vargosh, which was another similar artifact, and then fighting against Lord Defara in his transformed state. So as we go ahead and jump into this battle, this is an extreme battle, which means that each harm that our heroes deal to these spiders is only going to count for 2 ticks of progress instead of a box of progress or 2 boxes of progress as we've done in the past. And what that means is there are essentially 4 ticks in 1 box of progress. And so essentially 1 harm will equal half a box of progress on our 10 box progress track. So let's jump right into the fray with Arid, as he is going to roll plus heart. I think all of these are going to be plus heart because, once again, they are facing off against these foes. They knew that they were there. These Decay spiders aren't leaping out at them and attacking them unawares. So this is going to be plus 2 for Arid. I hope my dice are ready to rock and roll. 7 on the action score, a 2 and a 9 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. So on a weak hit, I have the choice between taking the initiative or taking momentum. Now, Arid only has 2 momentum, but I am definitely going to seize the initiative here. So Arid at least is in a strong position as he takes the initiative. Ben only has a heart of 1, so I'm going to roll enter the fray for him. He gets a 6 on the action score, a 5 and a 7, also for a weak hit. And he has 6 momentum, and I'm going to let him take the initiative as well. Orchid has a heart of 2, so they are going to roll. And I got a 3 on the action score, an 8 and a 10 on the challenge dice for a miss. So on a miss, combat begins with you at a disadvantage. Pay the price. Your foe has the initiative. So I think what that means is Ben and Arid had direct contact with the Eye of Vargosh. So they have felt this sort of aura before and overcome it. Orchid was at the estate, but they never came in direct contact with the Eye of Vargosh. No, they were fighting in the battle that occurred after Ben and Arid got the artifact out of the estate, but they never came in direct contact with the Eye of Vargosh. And so Orchid is a little thrown off by this aura, and I'm going to roll our pay the price. It's going to be 34. The current situation worsens. Oh boy, that's not good. How does this current situation worsen? Let's ask the Oracle. We will do action and theme. So we've got 25, eliminate. And our theme is 16, eliminate innocence. Ooh, the innocent here is Silas. Now, eliminate could mean a bunch of different things, so I don't know that I'm going to jump straight to just killing off Silas, but he is eliminated in some way. He's not really going to be part of this fight, so I guess maybe we should just ask the Oracle if he's killed. I think it's unlikely that he's killed. He's taken out of it somehow. Maybe he's injured, and they're going to have to do something to help him, but let's ask the Oracle. I think it's unlikely that he is killed in this first sort of storm of battle. 14 is a no. No, he's not killed. So I think what happens is the door swings open. They see this artifact. They step inside. These decay spiders come scuttling out of the shadows and the darkness of this room where this claw is like pulsing this sickly green energy. They begin to swarm at the Crest soldiers, and one of them is sort of up on the wall behind where the door is, and it leaps down and attaches itself to Silas, and it digs its mandibles into his shoulder, and he screams out in pain. And I think what happens, and this is why Orchid doesn't have the initiative, is because they have to turn and deal with this situation, leaving Arid and Ben to face the general onslaught of these decay spiders. So because Arid has the initiative, I am going to start with him, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time, which is use the Ritual of Lightbearer. And I'm going to attempt to draw on the fire. So here we go. This is going to be plus wits, which is +3. That is a 5 on the action die. A 5 and a 6 on the challenge dice, so we're starting off this battle with a miss. So on this miss, I think I'm just going to roll to pay the price, and he's not going to burn himself in the same way that he did before. 77. It's stressful. So he attempts to draw on the fire, but again, not having Orchid sort of standing at the front line means that these spiders close in faster and get up close. And so he is going to lose a point of spirit, and we are going to make the endure stress move. So this is roll plus spirit or heart, whichever is higher. Arid's heart is +2, so we're going to use that. That's a 4 on the action die, a 5 and a 7 on the challenge dice for another miss, so we're also going to suffer -1 momentum. Momentum goes from 2 to 1 for Arid. So once again, we are starting off with a series of misses, and this battle is not going to go well if we can't turn these dice around. So Ben also has the initiative. What can he do? He does not have his crossbow. He lost that back in the other room. So he just has his sword, which means he would be fighting iron +1 against these creatures, or he can do something else. I think he's going to try and secure an advantage because he is in control right now. He's going to try and help Orchid out to get Orchid back into a good position here. So I think he is going to feint like he's going to charge, and then he spins around with a dagger and throws it at the spider that is attached to Silas. And I'm going to secure an advantage with Shadow, with Deception, Stealth, or Trickery. So this is going to be +3 on this secure an advantage. 8 on the action score, a 4 and a 2 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So on a strong hit, I can choose one. I can add +1, or I can take +2 momentum. Since I was securing an advantage for Orchid, Ben is going to confer the benefits of that secure an advantage on Orchid, and I think I'm going to choose momentum, because Orchid's momentum is at 0 currently, and if it dips down below 0, things get a lot more dicey. So I'm going to give Orchid +2 momentum, and because I got a strong hit on my secure an advantage, not only does Ben keep the initiative, but Ben grants Orchid the initiative. So I think that knife whistles through the air and strikes the spider, and the spider goes flying off of Silas. Silas collapses to the ground. They're not sure if he's dead or dying or what is going on, but that spider that was threatening him and harming him in that moment is neutralized, and so Orchid can then turn their attention back towards the main battle. So Orchid, seeing this happen, is going to turn with Bone Eater in their hands. They have the initiative. Now, I'm tempted to Keen and try to get that bonus to harm. If I do that, that's going to open up the possibility that I lose the initiative. But having +1 harm every single time I strike or clash is going to be pretty huge. So I'm going to do it. So I'm going to roll plus heart for Orchid, which is +2. And we're going to hope for a strong hit on this Keen. 6 on the action score, a 4 and a 5 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So that is going to give Orchid +1 harm when they strike or clash. They keep the initiative, so we are going to go ahead and immediately strike. So Orchid rushes forward, singing a song of Faramork, a battle song, a song for the dead and the fallen, and they sweep their axe in a wide swing at these decay spiders, closing in on their party. And I'm also going to sacrifice one of those momentum that I got to, as a Sunderer, add +1 harm as well. So I'm at +2 harm right now, +2 harm for just carrying a deadly weapon. So I'm at 4 harm if I get a hit on this strike. Here we go. +3 on this iron. 7 on the action die, and 8 and a 9 on the challenge dice for a miss. After all that build-up, Orchid comes forward swinging, and these decay spiders, even though their form is sloughing away, they are able to dance nimbly out of the way of this mighty blow. Orchid loses the initiative, and it is time to pay the price. Orchid, you let us down. We needed that strong hit. We needed a hit just in general. 65 is going to be the pay the price. It is harmful. Great. Great. Yeah. That's going to deal 4 health harm to Orchid, as Orchid is swarmed by these decay spiders. Now, here's the deal. Orchid only has 3 health, and because this is an extreme foe, it's going to be 4 harm. So, oh boy. So, our health goes down to 0, and we're also going to lose another momentum because the additional point of damage that didn't go to the health has to go to momentum. So, we're back down to 0 momentum. Orchid is at 0 health. And we have to endure harm. So we're going to roll plus health or plus iron, whichever is higher. Well, obviously iron is higher. So this is going to be +3 on this roll. I need something. I need a hit. I need a strong hit. 9 on the action score, a 4 and a 9 on the challenge dice, which is a weak hit. So Orchid presses on. Orchid no longer has the initiative, is badly injured by these decay spiders, and is staggering and wavering on their feet as the spiders bite into their flesh. Oh dear, we are in some serious trouble here. All right, so Arid does not have the initiative here. He could clash, or he could try and face danger to hopefully regain his footing. So I am going to do that. I'm going to let him face danger, and I'm going to let him use his wits, because I think of wits as being his like magical ability comes from his wits, his intelligence, his force of will. And so we're going to roll +3 on this face danger as he tries to, seeing Orchid badly mauled by these decay spiders, he's trying to raise a barrier again to hold off this storm of spiders. +3 on this. 5 on the action die, a 3 and a 7 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. So he is successful at delaying the spiders from closing on them, but he is not able to gain the initiative, and he is facing a troublesome cost. So he's either got to suffer a -1 momentum, which he only has 1 momentum right now, or he can endure harm or stress or supply. None of these are great options, as Arid has 3 health, 1 spirit, and no supply. So we are going to go ahead and I think take the momentum, unfortunately, and take his momentum down to 0, as he is able to hold off the spiders a little bit, and that is going to give Ben an opportunity to do something. He has the initiative still. I don't think he can really do much against these. I think he has to try and secure an advantage again. So how can he do that with his shadow? What sneaky thing can he do to try and give them an advantage here? You know what? This is the sneaky thing that he would try to do. He is going to try and slip around the battle as it's happening. This barrier goes up, like deflecting some of the spiders back. I think he's going to try and steal the artifact, because they don't necessarily have to defeat these spiders as long as they get the artifact and get out of there. So he is going to try and slip around and steal the artifact. Now, that actually is probably more of a face danger, because I don't see how that is necessarily securing them an advantage. Maybe it would be a securing an advantage because it would have some effect on the spiders if they had control over the artifact. I could see that. I could see it reducing the danger to them. But I think actually just stealing the artifact itself is going to be a face danger. So he wants to try and steal the artifact, but I don't know that that's our first move here. So I'm going to go into my assets, and does Ben have something in his gear that would help them in this situation? Some sort of like vanishing powder, or like a smoke bomb, or, you know, anything like that that could help to obscure their movement in this room. So I'm going to check the gear plus wits, which is +2 for a smoke bomb. 7 on the action die, a 3 and an 8 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. On a weak hit, I have it, but resources are diminished. Take +1 momentum and suffer -1 supply. Well, I don't have any supply to suffer, so I'm just going to call it a flat loss of momentum there, as I gain the momentum and then immediately lose it. But because I got a hit on that, I am going to take +1 momentum, which is going to give me 7 momentum for Ben. Unfortunately, he has lost the initiative, and so I am going to use the smoke bomb, and this is going to be a face danger because I can no longer secure the advantage now that I don't have the initiative. So I'm going to throw the smoke bomb down with stealth, which is +3. 5 on the action score, a 3 and a 10 is a weak hit, which means that we're going to suffer a momentum loss, harm, stress, or, well, can't do supply. So Again, health and spirit are in short supply here for Ben. He's got 2 health, 3 spirit, so I'm going to take my momentum back down to 6. So all of that work for nothing. So he fills the room with this smoke, and I think he throws it over this barrier that Arid has devised, and it crashes down, and there is this smoke on the other side of the barrier as the 3 of them are kind of trying to catch their breath a little bit, and they can just see these claws like clattering out at them. So Arid is trying to hold this barrier. Ben throws this smoke bomb over, and it creates a little bit of a distraction. Orchid is in pain and is definitely in a really rough spot here. And I think they are going to face danger with their iron against the poison that's coursing through them. I think they have a moment as the barrier is holding back the tide of these decay spiders, but Orchid needs to overcome this poison that is filling their body. So this is plus iron. 5 on the action score, 1 and a 2 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So they get to take a momentum, and that grants Orchid the initiative. So Orchid is going to shake off this pain a little bit and is going to prepare themselves to unleash an attack against these spiders. Arid continues to be in a bad spot here, so I think he is unable to hold the barrier for long. Basically long enough for them to have this sort of moment of reprieve, and then the barrier comes down and they come charging in at him again. And I am going to have Arid roll face danger with edge as he tries to retreat and gain some space to try and draw on the flames again. So this is face danger plus 2, 8 on the action score, a 6 and a 2 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So he is going to take a momentum as well, and he is able to withdraw enough that he is able to get out of their range and is going to go ahead and try and draw on the flames. Plus wits on this. 9 on the action score, a 5 and a 3 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So we're going to set our light bearer track to 6. And he draws the flames from their torches around him, and this spiral of flame is spinning, and his hands are outstretched, and the light from the fire is reflecting on the scars and the burns that are on his arm and his shoulder as his eyes are closed, and he's focusing on this. He's chanting his arcane words, and he is able to maintain the initiative. That means Ben is the only one who is kind of not in an advantageous position here, and I'm going to say that the smoke is still lingering enough that he can use it to try and sneak around the side of this battle. So he is going to again roll plus shadow. His ultimate goal is to try and steal that artifact. So he is trying to make his way over there without being noticed by any of those spiders. 6 on the action score, 8 and a 9 on the challenge dice for Ben. It sounds like he is unable to make his way around, and he does not have enough momentum to overcome those challenge dice. So we're going to pay the price. 72. It is stressful. Darn tootin', it's stressful. So I am going to take a hit to spirit, and then we are going to endure stress. Now, Unfortunately, he has 3 spirit, and he's going to go down to 0 spirit and lose a momentum because, once again, it's 4 damage on this. And he is going to have to roll spirit or heart, whichever is higher, to endure this stress. His spirit is 0. His heart is 1. 6 on the action score, a 6 and a 1 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. It was so close to a strong hit. So on a weak hit, he is able to press on. So Orchid is injured and is on the verge of being wounded. Ben is on the verge of being dispirited and breaking and running. So he is not able to make any progress as this spider scuttles around and gets in his way, and he has to retreat. And I think he is eyeing the door with more and more fear. But maybe, just maybe, Orchid can turn it all around right here. So Orchid once more steps forward and is going to strike with their axe, with Bone Eater. They are going to roll +3 on this. A 4 on the action score, a 2 and a 6 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. So I am going to inflict harm, but also lose the initiative. So unfortunately, I also rolled a 1 on my action die, which means my keen magic goes away. So that's wasted. But I am going to, because I desperately need it here, going to let that 1 harm go through here. So it is going to be 2 harm for the axe, +1 for the keen, and I did not spend any momentum to up the harm on that roll. So it's going to be 3 harm, which is 1.5 boxes of progress on our 10-box progress track. So Orchid is able to strike a couple of these spiders, but they are beset very quickly. Again, there are spiders climbing on the walls, they're on the ceiling, they're on the ground, they're everywhere. They're all around them at this point. And it is a dire thing. So they are trying to hold off these spiders with Bone Eater, and they're able to chop through a few of them, but they lose the initiative. Arid, you may have to save us here. Arid is going to draw on that power of that fire that is swirling around them, and he is, with the initiative, going to strike. He is going to strike plus light. He has 6 light, and he is going to use all of that right now. So this roll is going to be +6 as he invokes the gods of fire and wreathes this room in the red light of this flame. +6 on this roll. 7 on the action score. Rolled another 1. 5 and a 7 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. So we are going to inflict 7 harm on these spiders, but Arid loses the initiative as well. So each harm is half a box, which means 6 harm is going to be 3 boxes. 7th harm will be a half box. So that's going to fill that second box of progress that was already a half, and then we're going to fill 3 more boxes. So all of that fire, and we are at 5 out of 10 boxes of progress on this extreme battle against these decay spiders, as Arid exhausts the flames that he had drawn upon, and the spiders are swept back for a brief moment, and many of them are scorched and burned. But that artifact is thrumming in the center of this room, and it is driving them on. It is driving these decay spiders forward to cling to these crest soldiers, to devour them for the audacity that they have to come into this vault and try to steal the claw of Vargosh. Ben is just going to have to survive. I think he is gonna try and slip past these spiders again. The fire has cleared a little bit of a path, and he is going to roll plus edge, which is +2 as he makes his way. Trying to stay out of the pinchers and the mandibles of these spiders. 6 on the action score, 5 and a 7 on the challenge dice is a weak hit. So he's successfully able to maneuver around the spiders, but he is going to suffer something here. His spirit is already at 0, so we're not going to suffer that. I'm either going to have to lose momentum or I'm going to have to suffer health. I'm going to take the health, unfortunately. I need to build that momentum for something. So I'm going to suffer a -1 health, and then I'm going to endure harm once again and hope against hope that I roll a strong hit. 7 on the action score, 2 8s on the challenge dice for a miss. So I also suffer -1 momentum. That's going to take me down to 4. And I rolled a complication with those 2 8s. So something terrible is going to happen. Let's ask the Oracle. We're going to roll on action and theme once again. Our action, 91. Escalate. That's not a good thing. 32. Escalate superstition. Okay, I know what this is. So as Ben makes his way around the spiders and he's getting closer to the pedestal where the claw is located, he is hit with that same wave of energy that the Eye of Vargosh emitted. That same aura of sickness that they felt even when they walked through the doors of this room. It's stronger the closer he gets. And I think he is going to have to face danger in order to overcome that aura. Because otherwise, I don't think he's going to be able to get close enough to try and steal this artifact. So is this going to be speed, agility, or precision, charm, loyalty, or courage, aggressive action, forceful defense, strength, or endurance, deception, stealth, or trickery, expertise, insight, or observation? I think it's heart. I think it's plus heart, which is +1 as he feels this wave of energy hit him. 6 on the action score. 3 and a 4 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So he is able to overcome this sense of dread and foreboding. He is able to steel his mind and focus on the battle ahead. And he is in position, potentially, to steal the Claw of Vargosh. Now, Orchid has lost the initiative, but has dealt a mighty blow to these spiders. I think Orchid is going to clash. I think their job here is to continue fighting. So they're going to clash with Iron. 6 on the action score, a 4 and a 1 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. Inflict harm, and I get to choose one. I can take +1 momentum, or I can inflict +1 harm. So I would deal 3 harm, which would be another box and a half of progress, or I could deal 2 full boxes of progress, which would get us up to 7. I don't think taking +1 momentum and going from 1 to 2 momentum is going to make that much of a difference in this moment. So I'm going to take the harm. I'm going to take it up to 7 boxes of progress. 7 boxes of progress, and Orchid has the initiative. I think Orchid is going to try and end this fight, is going to take decisive action. And I think that decisive action is a whirlwind of death. Orchid, bleeding from multiple wounds, steps forward with Bone Eater. Arid is struggling with his magic. He's unleashed this torrent of flame that has exhausted him. He is suffering under the effects of this exertion. Ben is getting close to the artifact, but I think Orchid can see that there is still fear and doubt in his eyes. And Orchid steps forward and is wading through these spiders, Bone Eater swinging to the left and to the right. And I am going to roll my 2d10 and compare it to my 7 progress. I rolled a 9 and a 2 for a weak hit. So, the foe is no longer in the fight. They are killed out of action, flee, surrender as appropriate to the situation. Orchid destroys the Decay spiders that are swarming towards them. Bone Eater rises and falls. Bone Eater strikes to their very hearts and obliterates them. Orchid, warrior of Faramork, is an aspect of the Sleeper King, death incarnate. But because I got a weak hit, I have to endure harm, endure stress. The victory is short-lived. I have to suffer collateral damage. An objective falls out of reach, or marked for vengeance. As much as I don't want to do it, I think the most dramatic thing here is for Orchid to endure harm. Because Orchid is at 0 health, and they waded into the midst of these vicious and dangerous spiders. There is no way, even as an aspect of the Sleeper King, unleashing death upon all those around them, that Orchid got through that fight without injury. So, it's still an extreme foe, which means 4 harm. They're at 0 health. That is going to take Orchid down to -3 momentum. What it means to be in negative momentum is if your action die equals the amount of negative momentum that you're at, you cancel out the action die. So if I roll a 3 on the action die, don't get that 3 anymore. I'm only adding whatever my spirit is. Now, I am going to roll to endure harm, because when you face physical damage, roll to endure harm. So I have suffered my loss of momentum instead of health, and I'm going to roll plus iron, which is +3 and is higher than my health of 0. Here we go. This could go very, very poorly. 8 on the action score, 10 and a 2 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. So you press on. Orchid is injured in many ways and is teetering on the edge of unconsciousness, but they stand victorious at the heart of this battlefield. I thought for sure that they were going to die. That was so incredibly close. What a battle. And now we have to deal with the aftermath. In the silence that follows, there is one other sound other than the panting and groaning of the Crest soldiers. The artifact, the Claw of Vargosh, thrums in the center of the room. Arid steps forward. He is weary, exhausted from the exertion of unleashing that much fire in the room. But he knows that there is yet a little work to be done. He steps forward and approaches the artifact of Vargosh. He can hear the whispers as he draws closer, inviting him to take it up, to give himself to it, to Vargosh, to the decay and corruption around him. He hears that multitude of voices drawing him in. But this is not the first time that Arid has dealt with an artifact of Vargosh. This time he is better prepared. He begins a chant. It's low and sonorous, and it slowly builds as he goes, his voice growing louder and louder. And the louder he chants, the duller the thrum of the artifact, and the quieter those whispers become. Until, at last, Arid, with arms outstretched, chanting and crying to the heavens, brings his hands down in a thunderous clap. And then there is true silence in the room. The artifact still has this sickly green glow to it, but it's dulled. It's muted. Arid looks over at Ben and says, "My friend, would you be so kind as to cover that and remove it from the pedestal? It should do us no harm now, but I would like to get it back to Lithalia as soon as we can." Ben, having observed this ritual, says, "Wolf's breath, Arid. That was something." And he takes a spare cloak out of his bag and throws it over the claw of Vargosh and wraps it up and removes it from the pedestal and sticks it into the bag. When it's done, Arid slumps to his knees. Ben steps up to him and leans down, resting a hand on his shoulder, and says, "Are you all right, my friend?" Arid nods and says, "I am, yes. Thank you for asking. That was a little more than I wanted to deal with today." Ben chuckles. "Another day in the crest." "Ha, yes. Another day in the crest." Turning back, they look at Orchid, who has made their way over to the scholar. Silas Wilberforce is laying on his stomach, face down against the cold stone. Is he still alive after that decay spider bit into his neck? I think it's 50-50. 51 or greater, yes, he's still alive. Orchid leans down and checks the scholar. Then they turn and find Arid and Ben's eyes on them. Orchid shakes their head. The scholar is dead. His skin has rotted where the bite took him. He was probably dead before he hit the ground. With a care that befits an aspect of the Sleeper King, Orchid rolls the scholar over and closes his eyes. Then they begin another song, not a battle song, but a song of rest, a song of mourning for the scholar. They are beaten, battered, and bruised, and they are carrying the body of Silas Wilberforce as they make their way towards the surface. There is one more move to make. When you withdraw from a site, consider the situation and your approach. If you want to find the fastest way out, roll plus edge. Steel yourself against the horrors of this place, roll plus heart. Fight your way out, roll plus iron. Retrace your steps or locate an alternate path, roll plus wits. Or keep out of sight, roll plus shadow. I think that they are concerned that the Necdesolith may be on the path that they came in. So Ben is going to take the lead and is going to try and keep them out of sight as they creep their way out of the Elfheim ruin, as they attempt to escape the depths. Roll plus shadow, plus 3. 9 on the action score, a 10, and a 4 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. They find their way out, but the place exacts its price. I can endure harm, endure stress. I'm delayed and it costs. Leave something behind. Face a new complication as we emerge from the depths. A denizen plots their revenge. I think the idea of facing a new complication as they emerge from the depths is the thing that is sticking out to me the most. So let's roll on action and theme and see what that complication might be. 59. Take 12. Fear. Take fear. Okay, so Ben is leading the way, and they are making their way up. And I think Arid's ritual has caused the Claw of Vargosh to stop whispering to those that are close to it. But because Ben is sitting at 0 spirit, I think he is feeling the after effects of being within that aura, of being that close to death under the earth, and the fact that the three of them were almost wiped out by these spiders that have been corrupted by Vargosh's ill intent, whatever remnants of him remains. And that same thing could have happened to Heartvale. And that there are people out there who are still seeking to enact such terrors against the city. And I think the complication that arises is that Ben leads them out of the depths, and when they emerge, it's dark. It's nighttime. And there are no stars in the sky. There's no moon shining. It's overcast. And it's dark. And Ben has this dark moment of the soul. And I'm going to roll a face danger plus heart on this to see if he is able to fend off this fear that is starting to take root in his heart. And I think before I do that, I'm going to roll a secure an advantage with Arid, because I think Arid can see the effect that this place has had on his friend. And I think as they're emerging out of this place, Arid says, "Ben, are you all right? You've been very quiet as we have made our way out of this ruin." Ben says, "I've just been focused on getting us out alive." And he glances furtively at the body of Silas Wilberforce. "Yes, it is important to focus on such things, but it is important to recognize that we were at least partially successful. We were able to recover this artifact that we did not know was buried down there, and in so doing we may have saved the Vale from a great evil. I think that that is something that Silas would be proud to be part of." Arid looks at his friend, who is staring up at the sky, searching for some mote of light. And he says, "Ben, we are often faced with the darkest parts of life, but it is our responsibility as soldiers of the crest to keep going forward, to keep moving onward, to fight for the light, for the day. If we can but hold out until the dawn breaks, we will have triumphed." So we're going to roll secure an advantage. I think this is also with heart. 6 on the action score, a 4 and a 1 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So Arid can confer either +2 momentum or +1 to his next move. Ben has 4 momentum, so I'm going to go for the +1. Ben is going to face danger with heart, which is 1, +1 from Arid, so he's rolling +2 on this. Four on the action score, a 7 and a 4 on the challenge dice. The irony being, if I'd taken the momentum, I could have turned that into a weak hit. But it is in fact a miss. Must pay the price. Ben hears what Arid says. He looks at his friend and he says, "Are we truly fighting for the light, Arid? I thought we were mercenaries. I thought we fought for coin. I think in this life, there is no dawn. There is no hope for a new day. There is only the next contract. There's only the next night." We're going to endure stress. So we're going to suffer minus spirit, equal to the foe's rank or as appropriate to the situation. I think that since this was a formidable sight, we're going to go with that. And so he's going to lose 3 spirit, which he has no spirit, so he's going to lose 3 momentum. Going to take him down to 1 momentum. And then we're going to roll one more time, plus heart. It's +1. Seven on the action score. 3 and a 5 on the challenge dice. Appropriately, embrace the darkness and take +1 momentum. Arid looks at Ben and says, "We are mercenaries, it is true. But it does not mean that we cannot fight for the light. If we were only after coin, surely we would just take this artifact back and sell it to the highest bidder. But instead we are going to turn it over to people who are going to destroy it, or hide it away in a place that can never be found. Do not give up on this, Ben. Yes, we are mercenaries. But that does not mean that we cannot do some good." As Ben absorbs these words, the clouds break just a little bit, and in the cool, early fall air, a small shaft of moonlight cuts through. Ben looks up and he says, "Wolf's breath, Arid. Maybe you're right. Maybe we can do some good. Maybe we can." Thanks for listening to Errant Adventures, and thank you so much to Syrinscape for the lovely ambient sounds and music throughout the episode. If you enjoyed the show, please tell anyone and everyone in your life about it. And if you want to support the show directly, leave me a review or buy me a coffee at coffee.com/errantadventures. That's ko-fi.com/errantadventures. If you want to interact with me, my handle on Instagram and Twitter is @errantsolopod, or you can email me at errantsolopod@gmail.com. I also post short fiction and campaign-related materials on my website, errantadventurespod.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.